This is the MHS Pawdcast, the online radio voice of Metuchen High School.
Welcome back to the fifth year of the MHS Pawdcast, the online radio voice of Metuchen High. I'm Itai Geller, joined by Marcus Young. We're excited to be the new faces of the podcast and have lots to get into in our first edition of the year. After the announcements, I'll be talking to incoming principal, Mr. Edward Porowski, about his adjustment to the new role. Then I'll be joined by Ike Bush for a look at the Metuchen High School fall sports season. But before that, here's some school announcements from Marcus Young.
Thank you, Itai. First, a reminder that you can catch Metuchen High School sports home action live on the Bulldog Report on YouTube. Congratulations to Noah Strathman, Metuchen High School's National Merit Scholarship semifinalist, and to the 8 other commended seniors. A reminder to all student drivers that they must park in the designated student lot, not in the bus circle. Winter sports physicals will be taking place on Thursday, October 28th. Stop by the nurse's office to make an appointment. Finally, if you're interested in joining the MHS Podcast, do not hesitate to reach out. We are looking for new members for this school year. That's all for announcements. Back to you, Itai.
Thank you, Marcus. Let's transition right into the interview with Mr. Porowski. It's the start of the school year, and we have a very special guest joining us for our first episode of the MHS Podcast. I'd like to welcome Mr. Porowski, principal of Metuchen High School, to the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's great to be here, and I'm excited to be here on the MHS Podcast. That's really kind of cool.
Absolutely. All right. So let's get right into it. As some of the viewers may know, you just transferred from Campbell Elementary School to Metuchen High School, and as of today, we're slowly closing in on the first full week of school at MHS. I've seen you in the hallways greeting students during passing time, and it makes me wonder, what differences have you seen or expect to see between your experience as the principal of Metuchen High School and that of Campbell?
I want to say that it's exciting because I've had the opportunity to have all 4 grade levels of students. You were the first group of students that I had when I started as principal down at Campbell School. So now that I'm up here, I get to see you, and I get to see what has happened over the past couple of years and how you've grown and how you've matured and what changes you've encountered yourselves. So really, I think it's more about just kind of being able to have a more adult conversations, chatting with you, finding out about your interests. Some of your interests earlier may have been a lot more youthful. And while some of it may be more youthful, there's the excitement about, the possibilities of graduation and what's going to happen after graduation and what you're preparing for your life's path. So there's a lot of that kind of excitement that I have when it comes to engaging in conversations with our student population. I think that's what I'm most excited about.
Awesome. And I know that it's definitely like, as you mentioned, it's been sort of difficult for us, as students who are going to be graduating next year, to come to terms with the fact that we're going to be going to college next year. And so I think it would be a great follow-up question to ask you, how has adjusting to a high school environment been difficult for you?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know if it's very difficult. I mean, there are definitely some growing pains getting used to different procedures or different ways of maneuvering through a school day. I definitely have the experience right now of just adjusting to having a bell schedule again, because that was something that was not prevalent in as a elementary principal, but as a high school principal, you're kind of tied to a bell system and making sure that the students are where they need to be and that classes are starting on time and all that kind of fun stuff. I think beyond that, I'm not entirely sure. There's definitely some growing pains or growing experiences, but I'm excited about that. I feel like what's kind of neat is the fact that I also experience high school from my own personal life because I have a junior in high school myself right now. My son's a junior, so he's kind of going through a lot of these experiences as well. So conversations that I have here are also conversations that I have at home. And then I also have a senior in college. So I'm kind of like on that wavelength of more adult conversations, more adult interactions, which I appreciate as well. Don't get me wrong. I loved elementary school. I loved the students in that range, but I'm also excited about all of the potential here for engaging in different activities and different opportunities for our students.
And you've talked a little bit about your transfer from the elementary school to the high school. So I just want to ask you a little bit about yourself as a principal.
Sure.
So what is an approach that you like to take in your job, which you feel sets you apart from other principals?
I think, well, an approach that is a little bit different. I follow the belief system of, you talk the talk and you walk the walk. A mentor that I had when I was a young teacher growing into the profession itself taught me in particular to think about it in terms of, if we do not model what we teach, then we're teaching something completely different. And I think it's important for me to model what I expect of others, so that you see that I value the same things that I'm asking you to value too. I think that's probably one of the things that sets me apart. Other things that set me apart, I don't know, maybe my approach, just I feel like I try to be as upfront, honest, and forthcoming as I possibly can. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm going to tell you the way it is, and I feel that that's important. And I want to make sure that we're working together on something. So if there's a problem, let's fix it together. Let's not just make decisions willy-nilly. Let's do this together. I just actually use the phrase willy-nilly. That's yeah.
It's
sorry,
totally
that's
fine.
not cool.
No, it's totally fine. But yeah, I think it is really cool when it's like sort of more up close and personal. Like, I remember one of the biggest parts of elementary school, for me at least, was when you dressed up in the hot dog costume. That I personally wouldn't go out of the way to do that. For some people, I just feel like, to me, that would be embarrassing, but I think it was like so cool how interactive it was at the time. And that's what really set you out, set you apart from everybody else, to me at least. And so
I don't think I'm ever going to live that one down, am I? I guess the hot dog, I mean, the duct tape. I mean, I don't have much hair left anymore, but when I had my hair pink, like, that's definitely things that the students always seem to remember or ask me about. And I'm not sure exactly what the translation is going to be like when up here, but I'm sure that there's going to be some type of incentive or spirit, or like something that we'll do that will hopefully engage us in some additional fun.
Yes, I'm sure everybody would like to see that. Now that we're back in person, which is quite exciting, actually, for teachers, students, and the administration alike. And so I think this gives you like more of an opportunity to leave your mark on Metuchen High School. So what is something that you are most excited to work on this school year?
This school year, I'm excited to hopefully establish a strong sense of community. That's I think the most important thing. We need to connect with each other. We've been virtual, even as we are right now, you and I on the screen. I've talked to parents about this. I've talked to students, and I've said it to the staff as well. It's so much more meaningful when I'm standing or sitting across from somebody and having a conversation, and I'm able to look into their eyes, and I'm able to read their mannerisms to understand what it is that they're thinking, or what it is that we need to do to assist each other. I think that the collaboration there, the communication there is really important. So making those connections is really a top priority for me. I think as well, a lot of us spend a heck of a lot of time on our devices, whether it's our phone or our computers we're always connected. That's great that we're connected in that way, but I also want to make sure that we're spending less time crouched over a phone, and definitely more time looking up and engaging with the people that are right there in front of us.
And so just now you mentioned like a few challenges and like how you plan to approach them. But besides the pandemic, what do you think would be the biggest challenge facing Metuchen School District this year?
I'm not sure if we have a big challenge. I think that if we encounter a challenge, we're going to face it head on and we're going to figure this out together. And I kind of feel that there's no challenge that we can't face. I don't have a particular indicator as of yet that there's a particular challenge that we're going to have to encounter or address right now. So I apologize, but I'm gonna reserve the fact that I'm not 100% sure yet. And when it shows up, then we're gonna come together and we're gonna figure it out.
Awesome. That's better than no response at all. So I think like many of my peers, and I have been talking with a lot of people about this because I did mention that I was interviewing you to some people, and they were like, Mr. Porowski is like, he's always on social media. And I was just wondering, like, what do you plan to use social media? Like, how do you plan to use it as a means of communication?
Well, I plan on using it for a couple of reasons. Number one, I want to meet you where I know most of you are. I'm shying away from Snapchat because I personally can't get my head around understanding how to effectively use Snapchat. I can't even use it with my own kids. But for me to be able to throw a TikTok up there, like I look at it as it's hard for any person nowadays, and I'm talking about people my age, people older, our youth, for all of us to have the attention span to sit and read something long-winded or that has a lot of detail into it. Sometimes you need that 30-second or 60-second soundbite. So that's kind of why I decided to jump into TikTok a little bit more, use Instagram, try and use pictures or flyers or things like that to just kind of show the information, have it be quick, have it be easily accessible, so that you could then, all right, well, you saw it. Do I need more information? Well, here's where I'm going to get it. So it's like hopefully like the teaser to get you to then say, okay, I need to know more information about it. I'll read up on this, whether it's on my website or on the school website or anywhere else in particular. I just really feel that we don't have the ability to sit and read a billion emails, sit and do all of that kind of stuff anymore. We need something a little bit shorter. And I also want to encourage that for our parents too. I feel like it's a great way for our parents to get to know some of the other platforms that everybody is now using. So yeah, maybe they might be on TikTok and watching videos themselves, or or maybe they're now going to venture into trying to use Instagram or even Twitter. There's definitely more options other than Facebook. So I want to make sure that I'm trying to reach out to as many as possible.
Yeah, Facebook is slowly becoming outdated. We have to, push it out of the way a little bit, get on the newer platforms. I totally agree with that. And I do have to say, the morning, our homeroom and like the morning presentations when we put the PowerPoint up on the board has been like super informative for me, because I remember that as a student, in the past, I would always have to look elsewhere to find, for example, like the club listings. And I know that I only really started joining clubs last year because I wasn't well informed about, what was open to me, just because I would have to look for flyers everywhere. So I just wanted to let you know that it is very helpful. It is helpful.
I'm so glad to hear that. I mean, I worry about making it as easily accessible as possible. So that's fantastic. That makes me think that we're going in the right direction for that.
Great. And sort of to wrap things up here, I'd like to ask one more question. What is one of the most important things you learned as a principal during the pandemic?
I'm sorry, I'm taking a pause here.
Take your time. It's all good.
Honestly, I think the most important thing to me was the reaffirmation that family always comes first. And I know that sounds that's not necessarily education based, but it is relationship based. It's important for all of us. Our families really do matter to us, and we need to make sure that we put our families first. And I felt like that was what I learned during the pandemic time, trying to help foster family relationships with our students and our parents, but also for me to spend the time and make sure that I'm connecting and having meaningful connections with my own kids and my wife and my family. And I think that makes me a better person, and they make me better people. And family does not necessarily mean who lives with you, but family means who you surround yourself by and who supports you. So I've always kind of said that, Campbell was a family, but I believe that any place you are, whether it's Campbell School, Metuchen High School, we are a family in some way or another. Yeah, we may not always get along, but we'll be there to support one another through everything.
And with that wholesome response that everybody should heed, I think that just about ends our interview. Thank you so much for joining me today. Up next, we have Ike Bush with the Sports Report. Thank you, Mr. Porowski, for being here.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
You too.
Having trouble seeing the board in class? Do you need safety glasses for your school sport? If you answered yes to either of these questions, head over to Optique Unique, the eyeglass store at 406 Main Street in Metuchen. Optique Unique does it all. Not only do they offer eyewear for all ages, they also sell sports-specific safety glasses for kids and adults. Call them at 732-321-2020. That's 732-321-2020, or visit OptiqueUnique.com. Do you want to build character, build confidence, or even build yourself? All that and more can be accomplished at the Black Belt Institute at 23 New Street, right here in Metuchen. Students of all ages have been able to learn respect, discipline, fitness, and self-defense from their experienced instructors for over 20 years. Whether you're an adult looking for stress reduction or know someone young who has interest in Taekwondo, the Black Belt Institute is the place to go. The Institute takes a fun approach at teaching the rules of self-defense, instilling in their students an I-can-do-it attitude. Interested in taking a class? Call them at 732-205-9797 or visit their website at blackbeltinst.com. Once again, that's 732-205-9797 or blackbeltinst.com. The Black Belt Institute, Metuchen's leader in martial arts and fitness.
It's the beginning of the school year, and that means that fall sports are finally back. And most importantly, that means that the MHS Pawdcast sports segment is also back. Joining me today is our new sports representative for the segment, Ike Bush. Let's send things over to Ike so he can tell us a little bit about this fall sports season.
Welcome back to the Metuchen High School Podcast. I'm Mike Bush, and I'm going to be discussing a little bit about the sports programs and the program's recent success in the past few weeks and how well each team has been doing, starting with the Metuchen Bulldogs football team, which is certainly a big topic here in the high school. Total improvement in the past 2 weeks, starting off after snapping their 16-game losing streak, and that one was against the Spotswood Chargers at home in front of the homecoming fans. The fans were instructed to wear white in honor of the whiteout, which was occurring all week in front of, the night lights under the Metuchen High School, on the Metuchen High School backfield. And the Bulldogs were able to get the job done and snap their 2-year, 16-game losing streak, and boy, did they need that. The fans were going crazy. In fact, they stormed the field after their win against the Chargers, And afterwards, just a week later, under a week later, just 6 days later, they went to Highland Park to continue their success against the Owls, the Owls have had a very rough season so far, and as of late, they have not been able to get the job done on the football field, and the Bulldogs took care of the Owls on the field, winning 49-7 on the road in Metuchen's pink out. In fact, all the fans were instructed, again, to wear the same color. This time was pink on the road, and if you were there, I was there. It was just an unbelievable sight. I mean, everyone was on their feet every single play. And if you didn't know better, you may have thought that this was a Metuchen Bulldogs home game because of how loud they were every single play. The fans were into it, and it's good to see that again here in the high school. It's good to see the Bulldogs have success. That's back-to-back wins for Metuchen in football. So they're looking a lot better recently. Highland Park will lose yet another one. They still remain winless. Now the Bulldogs, 2 wins straight. They have the final parts of their season coming up. So Metuchen football on the lookout for their 3rd win. So now we're going to go into a little bit about the other teams that have also been, doing very well, starting with the field hockey team, who are currently 8-4-1. They're off to a very strong start. And I guess now we're towards the end of the season. But after losing Noel Leaf, who was just one of the top players in the program for just so long, now at Rutgers playing field hockey, Noel Leaf was an absolute great player last year, and the loss of her and many other seniors definitely took a big dent to the field hockey team, yet they're playing to great success. 8-4-1, 8 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie so far this year. And last game was actually today, and they won against Old Bridge on the road. So a big win for the Bulldogs will improve them to 8-4-1. Their next game is tomorrow against South Brunswick, and the last time they met South Brunswick, they won 2-1. So they've had some success against South Brunswick. One of their 8 wins was actually against South Brunswick. So keep an eye out on the field hockey team, which is also doing very well. Now we're going to go to the girls soccer team. Now, unbelievably, they're undefeated. 14-0 for the girls soccer team. Just unbelievable. Led by Marin Boucher and just so many others. The girls soccer team is 14-0. And their last game was today. They won 3-0 against St. Thomas Aquinas on the road. And they have 4 games in the season remaining until GMC. So the girls soccer team, again, just producing to the brightest level and shining very bright. Huge season, and they're doing very well. So the girls tennis team, they are 5-3, so still winning records across the board for the Bulldogs. 2 games left, and they have Highland Park their next game. So last time they faced Highland Park, they beat them. So they're starting to get some momentum after losing a few earlier on in the season. The Bulldogs are looking really good, and now they're at a winning record. They have St. Thomas Aquinas. They beat them 1-0 last time, so that's their last game of the year against St. Thomas Aquinas. The next game, though, is Highland Park, and they beat them on the 7th. And that was the last time they beat them. So that was their last game, actually. And the girls tennis team looking very good as well. So some doozies, as they say, to come up for the Bulldogs in tennis. Now we're going to wrap it up with the boys soccer team, who is currently sitting at 6-3-1. 6 wins, 3 losses, and a tie. Tomorrow, they have a game against Woodbridge at home on the back field. Make sure you tune into that one. And that will be tomorrow, October 12th. Today's the 11th. But their first meeting against Woodbridge this year, I repeat, is on the backfield tomorrow. So the boys soccer team had some heartbreaking losses earlier on in the season. Also some great wins. They won under the lights along with all the other Bulldog teams, but they were able to win under the lights in front of all their fans. Just an awesome win that was. It was Kieran who took a 30-yard kick to the back of the net, and they won that game 2-0. So a big win for the Bulldogs there, and they're sitting 3 games above 500. So that just about wraps up talking a little bit about the Bulldogs athletics. Now we're going to start to get into, the Week of Lights, which I know was 2 weeks ago, but I still find it very important to talk about. So the Week of Lights pretty much was the Bulldogs, the Metuchen High School never had lights. So the backfield, which is a very nice turf field, actually never has lights. So you're unable to see or play in the dark. Now, they did order lights for a week, and that was kicked off. That week was kicked off by the pep rally on Monday, September 27th, when the Bulldogs had their pep rally. And later that night, the Metuchen girls soccer team played Spotswood in soccer and won that. So they kicked off their night. They kicked off the week with a win, and then afterwards on Tuesday, the field hockey team won 1-0. So there's 2-0 under the lights. And then Wednesday, the Metuchen Bulldogs soccer team, boys soccer team, were able to pull off, as I mentioned earlier, the 2-0 victory. Another just big win under the lights. Everyone was wearing white, just across the board, just a great performance. So that's 3-0. There were no games under the lights on Thursday, but on Friday, there were 2, both senior night. So the Metuchen Bulldogs senior night, the Metuchen Bulldogs boys soccer team senior night, which they won against St. Thomas Aquinas very heavily. They won that game by a whole bunch of goals, and that was a huge win for them. And still undefeated under the lights. And then afterwards, it was the girls that played who also won. So all leading up to the game on Saturday, which was Metuchen versus Spotswood in football. Now, the football team previously, before this game, had no wins in 16 games. They literally have not won in 2 years, and they were looking for that big win under the lights. They were hunting for that win under the lights, and they got it. It was a great game across the board. A.J. Perillo won Player of the Week in all of Middlesex County. He won Player of the Week, or Central Jersey, rather. So it was just, the fans were going crazy. Afterwards, they stormed the field. The sight at Metuchen High School that night was something that I've never seen from, anywhere in Metuchen, anywhere really nearby. It was just a sense of unity, and the fact that they were all Bulldogs teams were able to win every single game under the lights was just amazing to me, and I'm sure really everyone that was able to observe all the games. And they played so well, a lot of close games, nail biters, but Metuchen did win each and every one of the games under the lights. So that's definitely a huge occurrence for the Bulldogs on that week. And I guess you could say it went well, because I'm sure the Metuchen High School will be getting those lights again next year around this time so that they can match their success. But yeah, so just great all around sports teams, and the school, everything's going well right now. Early on in the year, we're just approaching middle October. It's currently October 11th. But there's a lot of sports going on, and if you want to keep an eye out, you could always visit nj.com to learn about the recent scores, scheduling, etc. from the Bulldogs. And also it's posted under metuchenschools.org. You could see under athletics, you could see scheduling as well as stats and scores and all of that, anything that you may find important for the Bulldogs in the future. But that just about wraps it up. I'm Ike Bush. Back to you, Itai.
And that wraps up our first episode of the year. Thank you so much to our special guest, Mr. Porowski, for joining us. For Marcus, Ike, and Eddie, I'm Itai Geller signing off. We'll see you next time on the MHS Podcast, radio voice of Metuchen High.